Welcome, Majid. Thank you so much for joining me with these federal election conversations. So I've got some questions for you. I've sent you the questions ahead of time, so we're all interested to hear your response.
Yeah, well, before that, thank you, Marj, for facilitating that. Thank you very much for your invite. And let me start by saying what an honor it is to be representing Richmond Hill for the past 6 years and being able to be part of many community events such as this one. So thank you very much for facilitating this.
You're very welcome. First question, how will your party address the climate crisis?
Well, I think the first thing our party has done is that the fact that it's acknowledged that the climate change is real and we are in a climate crisis. And during the COVID-19, this got highlighted. As you could see, we're still dealing with heat waves. We've been dealing with heat waves for the last couple of weeks and wildfires in BC. So this thing is real, and we need to deal with it. So what we've done in general over the last 6 years, we've introduced a number of measures, and I can go through all of those measures, but those are all accessible. There's over 50 measures that's been introduced. But taking a step back, really what we've done, we've approached this very holistically. We've said is, let's look at and assess where are we generating the pollution. And we have a chart that, X% is being generated by commuters, X% is generated by large companies, and all of that information is available. Then we take a next step and we said, hey, what are we going to do for the ones that are having a very high carbon footprint? And what we did, we put a price on the pollution. So as you could see, the price on the pollution, that we see a little bit of increase on the pump that's representative of that. Then we came back and we said, how about the large emitters? How about the large organizations? And then what we said is, we're going to give you incentivize you by making sure that you improve your processes so you can actually capture carbon. And that also help large organizations, not only to reduce, but also a lot of smaller organizations, small businesses, help improve processes or develop processes of carbon capturing. Then what we did, we said we're going to make a lot of investment, and our investment is in a couple of fronts. So one is on the research and development, making sure that we have processes and we look at renewable energy, whether it's solar, whether it's air, wind, etc. And also we said we're going to invest in infrastructure. And as you can see, as I'm sure you're aware, $2.4 billion for Young Subway extension, which is going to reduce the carbon footprint by about 3,800 ton per year. And finally, what we did, we said that we are going to set targets and hold our government accountable. And this target has been set for 2030 and 2050, and we have a very accountability. And last, we said we are going to be pragmatic, our solution very balanced between making sure that we address the environmental issues, but we balance it with an economic growth plan.
Very good. Thank you, Majid, for giving a very thorough answer. Next question. How will your party address the issue of the very rich not paying their fair share of taxes?
Well, first and foremost, we want to make sure everyone in Canada pays their fair share of taxes, especially the one who are in a privileged position to be a very high income earner. And within that sector, if anybody has benefited as a result of the COVID-19 and the accumulated wealth, I think they need to pay a bigger share, because it impacted a lot of people in a very, very negative way. And the government went into a lot of debt to be able to make sure that we have the Canadian max. So first and foremost is what we're going to make sure that the taxes are fair. So we're going to try to close any loopholes that exist for income earned in Canada, to find their ways in overseas, and through some of the existing loopholes and some of the tax minimization effort, the tax avoidance is dealt with. So that means that more revenue is going to stay within Canada, and the high income earners, whether it's the organization or whether individual, they do not transfer their funds without the proper tax allocation. We talked about luxury tax on on some of the high-end items such as boats and cars. We are going to seriously look at the housing. I'm sure you heard about the announcement that was made this morning. We're rolling out programs around rent to own for housing. We're going to look into educating and making sure that the process of buying houses is a lot more open and transparent. As you know, there's a lot of wealth was accumulated through the speculation in that market. And I want to close by saying, hey, look, we started our mandate back in 2015 by lowering the taxes for the middle class and increases the taxes for the wealthiest, and also dropping the HST for the small businesses, because the small businesses are the backbone of our society. And what we're doing, we're investing a lot of things on increasing the opportunity for the middle class to grow and giving them a fair opportunity in there.
Thank you for that response. Next question. What will your party do to assist the vulnerable in our society?
Great question. I don't think in any other time in the history of Canada, at least I've been in Canada for 42 years, and at least in the time that I've been here, we've never had a pandemic. I mean, we've had economic hardship, we've had challenges, but nothing to the extent that we had to deal with over the last 17 months as it relates to COVID. What it highlighted the number of vulnerables in our communities, and it also highlighted how bad the impact, or how severe the impact are on it. To a large extent, we knew a lot of this, but we didn't know the extent, and we didn't know the implication. So let me start by the group that got hit the hardest: women, frontline workers, those who are earning, minimum wage, or they're working in a very precarious situation. Single moms. What we saw is with COVID-19, the role that the mothers and the role that women played almost tripled. Aside from being at home, taking care of, participating to the best they could to the work that they had to do, also taking care of the children, taking care of potentially some of the elders, and balancing many other responsibility. So again, to make sure that we give an opportunity for fair participation, we've introduced a $10 a day childcare. As you know, 8 of the 13 provinces and territories have already signed up to it. I'm hoping that Ontario signs up to it very quickly as well. We also saw the impact that it had on minorities. We saw the hatred in the society increases. We saw, anti-Black. We saw anti-Muslim. We saw anti-Semitism. We saw anti-Asian. We saw a lot of visible minorities being impacted, and that in itself, it caused a lot of self-reflection as a government, as a country. What do we want to be, and where do we want to do? I mean, let's talk about mass graves for the schools, and that in itself was hurtful, and it just reminds us what has happened in the past, what some of the issues that we dealt with. So minorities were a big one. Seniors was another big hit. I know I'm coming up to my 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but there was so many vulnerables that I really appreciate if you indulge me. Seniors got hit the hardest. Whether the seniors who were at home and they needed support and they couldn't come out of the house, they couldn't do their grocery, they couldn't they get their medication, and although they had a steady fund, but the cost of living was going up, and what they had would not be able to sustain them. We also know the senior homes got impacted the hardest. We know the frontline workers and the healthcare workers in those areas got hit the hardest. Again, there's a lot of investment has been there I believe $3 billion is going into the seniors to be able to help. And again, we look at our healthcare work and our healthcare system. Once again, it showed that our healthcare system and our healthcare worker are highly impacted. You know, we run out of ICUs during the peak of wave 3, and many funding has been allocated. The government has spent about $10 billion to reduce the wait list. We've spent another $2 billion to work with the provinces to, hire new family doctors, nurses, and nurse practitioners. And we are trying to recruit a lot of more health professionals, but providing, extended loans or loan forgiveness, and creating tax incentive for them to come. And finally, we look at most vulnerable. We look at our youth. Our youth got impacted. A lot of them during the summer, they would have got their jobs to be able to get through the school. And, those jobs were not available. A lot of small businesses that they had to have that they're the backbone of our country, they got impacted because they didn't have the money to be able to sustain. I'm glad that wage subsidy was there. I'm glad that the $40,000 loan was there. But again, we need to make sure that we have their back. And I'll stop there because I know I'm over my 2.5 minutes and I want to be fair.
Okay. Thank you for that, Majid. I know you're very passionate about that. This is a similar question. How would you like to see the Indigenous people represented in our society moving forward?
Marj, simple answer. I like them to be treated the same way as that I'm being treated. I like to see them treated the same way that my children and my friends and any other Canadians be treated. I like them to be treated with respect. I like them to be acknowledged for the challenges and for the mistakes that we've made in the past, and extend an arm to the Indigenous group. And we got to stop saying our Indigenous, because they are the Indigenous, not our Indigenous. They're not ours. They're Canadian, very much like it. I want them. I want them to be consulted. We know that they are the people who respect the land, and they live with the land, and they cherish the land, and they believe that this is what we leave behind, and we have a responsibility. So they have a lot of great ideas that they could be consulted. And when we are talking about reintegrating them back into our to society, in the sense that we are talking about, we need to make sure that it's done in a fair, equitable. We need to make sure that our engagement with them is really meaningful, and it's just not superficial. And and we also want to make sure that any opportunity that's being provided, whether it's education, whether it's social services, whether it's health, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's economy, all of those, they're an equal partner in it. So how do I like them to be treated? The same way that the government treats me or any other Canadian: equality, equity, respect.
Thank you for that response, Majid. Last question. I'm going to ask you just for 2 minutes. It's an opportunity to brag. What abilities do you have to be our member of parliament?
Well, thank you. I like to start by saying that a good member of parliament listens well, is proactive in reaching out and seeking input. We know that we are all busy during our day-to-day life. So a member of parliament who is proactive, who's reaching out and is not waiting for an in-reach, but constantly reaching out and listening well, is a member of parliament that it's worthy to have the support. I think a member of parliament has to be accessible. We sign up. And we are in a very privileged position. When people vote for you, they don't vote you just to go to Ottawa. They vote for you to make sure that you are a conduit. So you have to be a very strong advocate, and you have to be a strong conduit between the Ottawa and your riding. You have to be pragmatic, and you also have to be propose solutions rather than just convey messages. Because the same way that you propose solution to Ottawa and you bring it down, is the same way you have to listen and convey solutions back to the government. And you have to be proud. You have to really want thing. You have to be people oriented. You have to have empathy. You have to have understanding, and you have to be humble. You have to realize that you are put in that position because people chose to put you in that position, and you should never forget that. because you are working for them and because they chose to put you there.
Thank you for that response, Majid. Really appreciate it. This is a fun part. I've got 8 fast questions and we're going to get through this. These are almost silly questions, but so often in podcasts, this is what we do. Okay, first
No
one.
worries.
What's your favorite color?
The one right behind me, red.
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, strawberry, vanilla, and mango.
Oh, okay. Have you ever driven a motorcycle?
Have I driven motorcycle? I always wanted to drive a motorcycle. I'm the only child. My parents didn't let me because they were worried. So the answer is no.
No. Okay.
But not that
Right.
because I didn't want to.
Okay. Do you ever wear socks that don't match?
Yes, because my socks and my son's socks get mixed up. We are the same shoe size. So I ended up wearing his socks and he ended up wearing my socks in different colors.
Okay. What's your favorite genre of music?
I think jazz piano with a nice glass of white wine in the evening in a patio would be really nice.
Sounds good. What type of car do you drive?
2017 Hyundai Santa Fe.
Okay. And what musical instruments can you play?
None, but
None.
I decided to say harmonica because I guess anybody can play harmonica.
No, I don't know. Okay. And do you chew gum?
Seldom,
Seldom. Okay.
but I do.
You
If they're
do.
mango
Okay.
flavored or vanilla flavored or strawberry flavored, yes.
Okay. Thanks for indulging in those fun questions. Majid, this has been a delight and privilege talking with you. Wish you well on the campaign.
Thank you, Marj. And once again, my compliment to you for always being there for the community, to connect the community. You are one of the pillars of our community. You've been there for everyone during the COVID-19 and even before it. And I'm sure you're going to continue doing a great job with your team in the many years to come. Thank you very much for this opportunity.